All are requested to stand up for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
I now request Honorable Vice President of India, Sri Jagdeep Dhankar ji, and other respected dignitaries on the dais to come forward for the lighting of the ceremonial lamp and inaugurate the 27th International Congress of Vedanta.
अग्निमीडे पुरोहितै यज्ञस्य देवमृत्विदम् होतारं रत्नधातमम् अग्निः पूर्वेभिर्षिभिरीड्यो नूतनैरुता स देवाङ्गेह वक्षति अग्निना आरयिमश्नवत्पोषमेव दिवे दिवे यशसं वीरवत्तमम् अग्नेयै यज्ञमध्वरं विश्वतः परिभूरसि स इद्देवेषु गच्छति अग्निर्होता आगविक्रतुः सत्यश्चित्रश्रवस्तमः देवो देवेभिरागमत यदङ्गदाशुषे त्वमग्ने भद्रं करिष्यसि तवेत्तत् सत्यमङ्गिरः उपत्वाग्ने दिवे दिवे दोषावस्तर्धिया वयं नमो भरन्त एमसि राजन्तमध्वराणाङ्गोपामृतस्य दीदिविं वर्धमानं स्वेदमे ॐ स्वस्ति.
Thank you. I now request Honorable Vice Chancellor of Jawaharlal Nehru University, Professor Shanti Sri Dhulupudi Pandit, to felicitate our Honorable Vice President of India, Sri Jagdeep Dhankar ji, with a shawl and memento. Madam, please. Thank you. This 27th International Congress of Vedanta is organized by the Center for Philosophy, JNU, in collaboration with ICPR New Delhi, Central Sanskrit University, New Delhi, Center for Indic Studies, UMass Dartmouth, and the director of this 27th Congress of Vedanta is Professor Adarshapalli Nataraju. I now request Honorable Vice Chancellor of JNU, Professor Shanti Sri Dhulupudi Pandit, to deliver the welcome speech. Madam, please.
सबको मेरा नमस्कार. Most respected Vice President of India, Shri Jagdeep Dhankar ji, Shri Arindam Chakravarti, Professor Emeritus, University of Hawaii, Professor Sachidananda Mishra, Member, Secretary, Indian Council for Philosophical Research, Professor Nataraju, and ladies and gentlemen, and all the delegates who have come from different parts of India and from different parts of the world, welcome to JNU. Respected sir, we are extremely thankful to you for your august presence at the 27th International Congress of Vedanta. And as there are more than 200 delegates who have come here, and we had very excellent response from all the participants and several very good papers. We thank you for sparing your time to come to India's topmost university, multidisciplinary university, in the last 3 years, both in the NIRF rankings and in the QS rankings. Sir, JNU is a seat of knowledge creation and narrative power in its 14 schools and 10 special centers. Sir, today we celebrate Nari Shakti while paying our respects to Mata Savitribai Phule on her 193rd birth anniversary, and we also support the Prime Minister's vision and mission in women's-led development. Sir, in this conference, JNU is celebrating the entire Indic civilization, or Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, where tradition meets with modernity, continuity with change, realm with region, myth with reality, in constructing a Bharatiya narrative architecture. The Vedanta conference, sir, was the idea of your predecessor, former Vice President and President of India, Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, and enunciated by Swami Vivekananda, both unique and universal, because it talks of Adhyatma Vidya, and this dharmic civilization state of India wants to make this to reimagine the much distressed world order. I finally welcome you all again by saying that JNU is a unique university. It is also universal. It represents India's diversity in unity. It symbolizes democracy, development, deliberation, discussion, debate, diversity, difference, deliberation, and decentralization. And hence, once again, welcome to JNU. Sir, once again, we thank you for coming and blessing us today. Thank you all. Welcome to JNU. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Madam. May I now request Professor Arindam Chakravarti, Professor Emeritus, University of Hawaii, to address the hall. Sir, please.
Om Murtam Vedanta Tattvam Shruti Saranigatam Sarvanite Sharanyam Varnanam Ashramanam Pranaya Sahakritam Rakshitaram Varenyam Krishna Premavataram Kalikalushaharam Yogirajam Yatindram Shri Sita Ramadasam Bhaja Dalita Bhavatankam Omkaranatham. Rigveda starts with questions. Where did this universe come from? And that sets the tune, not only for Hindus, but for all Indian philosophical schools, where 10 different answers are given to that question. And even the Vedas, which are supposed to be the definitive knowledge, ends by a question. Does he know? Maybe even he does not. And this spirit of questioning not only is the heart of Indian philosophy, it shows a certain cultural diversity which makes us able to welcome not only as our neighbors and friends, but as central to Indian culture, both devotees of Narayana, both devotees of Shiva and Devi, and completely godless atheists, Buddhists, who are highly respected as central to Indian culture. So you don't have to believe in any dogma as long as, contrary to the advertisement by Indologists and Western scholars, contrary to that, as long as you are a rational thinker. All Indian philosophers put reason first, including the Vedas. There is nothing that we do not question. That is why the sweetest and the most important for nowadays episode of the Upanishads, as all of you know, Vedanta is simply a synonym of the word Upanishad. Vedanto nama Upanishad pramanam. And everybody knows why that is so, because Vedas have 4 parts: Mantra, Brahmana, Aranyaka and Upanishad, and the end part is Vedanta. But this has to be also qualified, because Mantra, which is the first part, we all say that's for rituals. Mantra yajna ka hai. But not true. Because the greatest Upanishads, about which I will speak later on today, Isha Upanishad, 18 verses. I would make a humble plea that the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita are commentaries on those 18 verses. Now, that Upanishad does not occur in an Aranyaka or in a Brahmana or in an Upanishad part. It occurs in the Mantra Bhaga. So all 4 parts of the Vedas are full of knowledge, not just theoretical knowledge. The Indo-European source of the word Veda is the same as the word video, where you hear as well as see, both. Of course it is Shruti, but it's also direct vision. So Darshana, Shruti and Yukti come together in Indian philosophy. And if the Yukti for the Jainas leads to Anekantavada, pluralism, then that is accepted. If the Yukti leads to there is no God, we are fully responsible for all our sufferings. We have to, there is nobody can help us. We have to be our own light. Buddha's last advice, Atma Deepo Bhava. Then that is another one. Just the opposite of the Vaishnavas, to which I belong. No, we cannot do anything by Purushakara. We have to submit. Tameva Sharanam Gaccha Sarva Bhavena Bharata. That also is Indian philosophy. Sometimes modern revivalists get confused because they are attacked by Christians and others and missionaries. Tell us in one go, what is your main philosophy, Vedanta? So we feel that we are weak by this plurality. We are not. As that is why the courageous sannyasi, Narendranath Datta, becoming Vivekananda, first time he gets an opportunity. Poor man, he lost his certificate which he brought from India. He didn't have anyone, any identity card, but he speaks for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, first speech. In that, he quotes from Shiva Mahimna Stotra, not about Shiva's Mahima, but about many rivers. Ruchinam, Vaichitrat, Riju, Kutila. Some paths, some rivers go straight, some rivers go like Nayayikas go like this. Okay? But finally, they all come to the same place. So, let this Vedanta Congress bring back the great pluralistic tradition of all of Indian philosophy, accommodating people who believe in Shiva, people who believe in God, people who do not believe in God, people who believe in Vishnu, people who believe in Purushakara, and let all our Upanishads be Prashna Upanishad.
Thank you, sir. I now request Honorable Vice President of India, Sri Jagdeep Dhankar ji, to deliver the inaugural address. Sir, please.
Yes. Good to check. Very good morning to all of you. Sri Arindam Chakrabarti, Emeritus Professor, University of Hawaii, USA. I have been Governor State of West Bengal for 3 years. Namaskar. And I am sure this greeting will resonate also in West Bengal with the concerned. Professor Shanti Shri Dhulipudi Pandit, a difficult name, but then generates seamless connect. She first acts and then thinks. With a wise strategy. The first woman Vice Chancellor, Jawaharlal Nehru University, and she talked of women-led governance empowerment. I entered the hall with a sense of relief. Your gender is dominating. 4 of us on the dais will have to do all we can to match your presence. Sri Nataraju Adar Supali, Director 27th International Congress of Vedanta. Sri Sachinanand Mishra, Member Secretary, Indian Council for Philosophical Research. Delegates from the country and outside, and my dear students. I will start with a caveat. I am not fully exposed to the academic concept of Vedanta, but I am charmed by it. I'm influenced by it. It's a practical aspect, dominates my thought process. Friends, it is an absolute honor to be at the inaugural function of the 27th International Congress of Vedanta. Over these 3 days, you all, philosophers, educators, researchers, academia, scholarly students would dialogue, deliberate, and exchange research results and your experiences. After having heard Sri Arindam Chakrabarti, I am full of optimism and hope that there would be an enlightening ideation that will guide us in the very difficult, challenging times, daunting times we all are faced with. Vedanta is essence or conclusion of Vedas, our timeless treasure. Our Bharat is a land of Vedas, Upanishads, Purans, epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, and Gita. But what a revelation! गीता के 18 अध्याय क्या कहते हैं, ये प्रोफेसर अरिंदम ने अपने को बता दिया है. I have therefore no doubt you will be feasted over these days in a manner that your intellectual thirst will be satisfied and your approach will be sharpened. Let me come to the theme of the conference. Reimagining Vedantic world order. It bears contemporaneous relevance. It bears huge connect to the present scenario, nationally and globally, that is challenging us. Friends, the world is in turmoil as never before. I am asserting this, taking full note. We have been visited with 2 world wars, but it is in turmoil as never before, with conflagrations continually expanding, tensions and unrest dotting every part of the planet, not only with human beings, but also with living beings. We are faced with cliff-hanging situation when it comes to existential challenge of climate menace. From digital misinformation, disinformation, to depleting resources, fast depleting. Why? We are reckless. We are not acting as trustees. We are guided by self-interest. We seek to exploit them for our gain. We ignore the larger good and welfare of the humanity and the planet. Cyber warfare, and as I said, apocalyptic climate menace, these unprecedented challenges require technological solutions with ethical wisdom. Ethical wisdom and practical approach can emanate from such kind of discourses and deliberations by deep understanding of Vedanta philosophy. I have no doubt in this worrisomely alarming scenario, recourse to Vedanta philosophy has become unavoidable, compulsively necessary, because it can show troubled humanity a ray of hope, a ray of light, and ultimate resolution. The world can be better with hopes coalescing, but we are having the very converse of it. Hope, sublime tendencies are not coming together. Those that are coming together are driven by sinister designs, nefarious tendencies. Their objects are not pro-humanity. In this grim scenario, Vedanta philosophy, its understanding, its deep understanding, its easy dissemination would be beacon of hope for the stressed planet. Vedanta philosophy, if I may say, is proverbial lighthouse in the difficulties we are faced with. And the difficulties are quite close to us. We cannot wait a moment for addressing them. Time is fast running out. And Vedanta philosophy, therefore, will put us and navigate us in the groove of righteousness like North Star. Presently, Bharat, home to 1/6 of humanity, is on exponential economic upsurge, unprecedented infrastructure growth with accolades never dreamt earlier, pouring from global outfits, global communities acclaiming our deep digitization, our people-centric policies. The mood in the country is upbeat, one of hope and possibility. Yet, some issues require addressing, and these require urgent addressing in tandem, in togetherness, in concert, and in consensual approach. We are one of the oldest civilizations, in several ways unique and unparalleled. Ironically and painfully, in this country, reference to Sanatan, reference to Hindu, evokes baffling reaction beyond comprehension. Rather than understand the depth of these words, their deep meaning, people tend to be in reaction mode at a drop of a hat. Can ignorance be more in extremity? Can the enormity of their lapse be countenanced? These are souls that have misguided themselves, driven by a dangerous ecosystem that is threat not only to this society but to themselves. There are some people who are engaged in propelling algorithms that are recipe for chaos. And they have now got a tool, technology, disruptive technologies. We are at another industrial revolution when it comes to these technologies. These technologies are now amongst us, with us, in every facet of our life. The challenge is to harness them for good and to see that the evil mind does not make them potent for the wrong reason. It is here the sagely philosophy emanating from Vedanta should moderate them and dictate our lifestyle. We need to be in ultra motion code. We have to get back to our cultural roots. We have to be alive to our philosophical heritage, because the world is getting increasingly interconnected. Sublimity, a sense, quintessential values of Vedanta philosophy remind us of inclusivity. And which country can define inclusivity more than our Bharat? Our values define it, our actions define it, our individual life defines it, our social life defines it. Two things, friends, are fundamental: expression and dialogue. Everyone on the planet must have right of expression. Right of expression is a divine gift. Its curtailment, its dilution by any mechanism is not wholesome. And this brings into picture another aspect: dialogue. If you have right of expression, you don't engage in dialogue, then the things can't work out. And therefore, both these must go hand in hand. expression and dialogue are quintessential to civility, nurturing of democratic values. If I may say, expression and dialogue being on the same page, they will generate symphony of harmony in society. And harmony in society or in individual's life is fundamental to growth. Friends, it's a matter of great concern, hugely concerning, that disturbance and disruptions, they were hampered, virtually defeated dialogue and expression. Dialogue, debate, discussion, deliberation have exited under the onslaught of disruption and disturbance, even in the theaters of democracy. What a travesty. If these temples of democracy, their sanctity is outraged, it is no less than sacrileging them. That is what is happening at the moment. But if we delve deep into Vedanta philosophy, we come to know about it, rest will follow. And therefore such kind of discourses are very, very essential. And another ironical situation that pains me and pains you all. Global disciplines are embracing the Vedanta philosophy, our ancient wisdom. They are exploiting our gold mine. If I may say so, when we faced COVID, Atharvaveda dominated because it was encyclopedic on health. They are doing it. But some in our country, some in this land of spirituality, dismiss Vedanta and Sanatani texts as regressive. And they are doing it without knowing it, not even physically seeing them, much less go through them. This dismissal often stems from perverted colonial mindsets, inefficient understanding of our intellectual heritage. What a travesty, what a travesty. These elements who act in a structured manner, in a sinister fashion. The design is pernicious. They camouflage their destructive thought process by perverted version of secularism. This is very dangerous. सेक्युलरिज्म को एक ढाल बना दिया गया है ऐसे कुकृत्य को कवच देने के लिए। ऐसे तत्वों का पर्दाफाश करना हर भारतीय का कर्तव्य है, क्योंकि हमें याद रखना पड़ेगा हम भारतीय हैं। भारतीयता हमारी पहचान है। राष्ट्रवाद के प्रति समर्पण हमारा धर्म है और इस बारे में अन्य कोई विचार नहीं हो सकता। एक नई बात और आ रही है, मैं ही सही हूं, बाकी सब गलत है। अज्ञानता की पराकाष्ठा है। That I am alone right is enormity of ignorance. It reflects arrogance in extremity. Steadfast clinging to one's stance as absolute truth and refusing to consider other viewpoint these days dominates public discourse. This intolerance undermines first our democratic values. Second, it disturbs harmony in society. And third, it doesn't allow productivity. On all counts, it leads only to disaster and failure. This rigid insistence of one's perceived righteousness, coupled with resistance to other perspectives, I will not listen to you. Your point of view has no value for me. I will not even consider it. That approach, coupled with resistance to other perspectives, this has become a pattern beyond our country. And this is the reason for much of the disturbance, restiveness, and restlessness in the populace across the planet. Such approach, friends, in my view, is antithetical to sublimity of Vedanta philosophy that invariably offers a ray of hope and light, howsoever dark the tunnel may be. It is a solution for every situation, as was indicated by Chakrabarti ji. It doesn't answer only questions. It goes beyond answering questions. It dispels your doubts. It satisfies the thirst of your inquisitiveness. It takes you on the board with full conviction and devotion. Vedanta can catalyze by bridging timeless wisdom with modern daunting challenges. और ऐसी परिस्थिति में ऐतिहासिक पृष्ठभूमि में चलना चाहिए. We had during Mahabharata Sabha Parva. Sabha Parva was there always to draw right lessons after dialogue, debate, discussion, deliberation, understanding each other's point of view in an atmosphere of discipline and decorum. Never believing I alone am right. Always believing you have a good point. The point needs analysis, deliberation. We must act in concert. यदि इतिहास को देखें तो it emanates from history that Sabha Parva served as crucibles of wisdom, debate, and preservation of dharmic traditions. These Sabha Parva were crucibles where ideation churning catalyzed. The greatest gift an individual can give to the society is ideation. And I am sure during these 3 days you will be ideating, as I said, that will be enlightening. I have no doubt your deliberations and reflections in this Sabha on Vedanta's transformative power, which is enormous, which is much beyond the nuclear power, which is much beyond the power of disruptive technologies, would go a long way. First, in arresting the downslide. Second, in retrieving the situation, repairing it. And lastly, getting us back into the right groove. Vedanta is much beyond a philosophy. It is algorithm for human consciousness and consciousness both. In today's era of artificial intelligence and machine learning and the kind blockchain and other disruptive technologies, take them all in one block and you will find this ancient framework of Vedanta philosophy and knowledge offers insights into the most sophisticated computer that is available in the universe, and that is the human mind. Vedanta extends more than just offering answers, as I said, and as was said by Chakravarti ji. It dissolves your question. It does not negate your question. It does not question your question. It dissolves it. You absorb the resolution. The absorption by you is so seamless that you are in oneness. And the greatest satisfaction is when we are troubled, when we are inquisitive, when we don't have an answer, and someone shows us the path. This is what Vedanta does. Friends, it is expedient. I would say it is urgently expedient. The collective mission of this august assembly, this Sabha, must be to extend this illumination not to millions, but to billions. This illumination, friends, works at both levels. Like, what can you contribute for your nation? An individual can contribute. Society can also contribute. This also here, the illumination is individual and collective. As they say it, Veshti and Samasti, at both. And these will transform personal consciousness by generating social awareness. This reimagining, which is one of your facets of your theme, provides framework for addressing modern challenges while maintaining the authenticity of ancient wisdom. Look at the modern challenge your child faces. Look at the modern challenge your relationship faces. Look at the the present challenge that defines all the wrong things about your relationships with your teacher, with your parents, with your neighbors. A solution is available in our ancient wisdom, Vedanta philosophy. At its core, Vedanta promotes dialogue. This dialogic tradition shows how different viewpoints can coexist while maintaining philosophical rigor. I try my utmost as chairman Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha is House of Elders, Council of States, the upper house. And there, we are never in dialogue. I am sure if the members of parliament are led to study Vedanta philosophy, they would surely be more receptive. And I would hold the people at large also responsible in some way. They should generate pressure on people who fail to perform their duty. People do it when a doctor is not performing duty, when a lawyer is not performing duty, when a public servant is not performing duty. But why don't you be in high decibel agitation to deal when your representatives don't do their duty? Their actions are not in conformity with a sense of Vedanta philosophy. These traditions engage in rigorous debate. There is a respect for decorum, respect for other point of view, and this is reflective of intellectual maturity. This model of respectful disagreement, Vaad Vivad Parampara, exemplifies scholarly discourse. मैं आपसे सहमत नहीं हूं, ये इंटेलेक्चुअल डिस्कोर्स है, पर मैं आपके मत को अपने जहन में नहीं आने दूंगा. I will be impregnably equipped to be repulsive to your point of view. When you don't listen to other point of view, you are revealing one thing, that you are arrogant. You think I am alone, right, no one else. You are being judgmental on the other person. And secondly, for rational mind, you are irrational. And for ordinary language, you are foolish. एक सुना था मैंने, बहुत लंबा समय हो गया अपना चेहरा देखा नहीं, कोई मुझे आईना दिखाए। वेदांत फिलोसफी इन लोगों को आईना दिखाए। As a matter of fact, disagreement is the greatest expression of democratic values. Like a failure is not failure. A failure is a stepping stone to success. A failure is not your defeat. Failure comes from several circumstances. You plan something very great and weather comes into way, inclement weather. You can't go to your place you like. It happens. So failures, young boys and girls, should not be taken as defeat. अब क्या है कि दो ही पक्ष हो गए, बाइनरी वर्ल्ड, हाँ ना। अरे हाँ ना का तो मतलब ही नहीं है। वेदांत philosophy teaches you not this, not that. It doesn't say yes or no. India's enduring unity amid tremendous diversity stems from this Vedantic foundation. Just imagine why this country has never believed in expansion. Why we have been so absorbing. Our inclusivity is embedded in our DNA. That has evolved for more than 5,000 years. Vedanta's dynamism allows each generation to discover contemporary relevance while preserving timeless truths. I'll tell you, before Socrates, we had a philosopher, Heraclitus. He is famously known for the only constant in life is change. But he buttresses it by an illustration. The same person cannot enter the same river twice. Neither the person is the same nor the river is the same. Similar is that Vedanta philosophy will have answers for problems that will keep on evolving, but you will find solution there. This adaptability enables Vedanta to address modern challenges while being pegged to its eternal principles. World is at the cusp of another revolution, I said, and the challenges will be incremental now. They will not be arithmetic, they will be geometric. And therefore, let us bring Vedantic wisdom from ivory towers to classrooms, ensuring its reach to every corner of society. And therefore, in all humility, I propose adding a dedicated panel next year to discuss Vedanta accessibility, adaptability, and practical implementability. I am sure your deliberations will make the timeless ideas more relevant to contemporary world. Friends, remember, Vedanta is not a relic of the past. It is relevant for the present as it offers a blueprint for the future. As we face unprecedented global challenges, it offers practical solutions for sustainable development, ethical innovation, and harmonious coexistence. May our ancient wisdom guide our journey of humankind. Thank you so much for the time you have given.
Thank you, sir. All are requested once again to stand up for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे